All right. All right. All right. All right. Welcome back to Queen Beauty Podcast. I'm your host, Elise White.
And I'm your other host, Quandra Sims.
We are super excited. Episode 3 of our mini self-care series, unpacking the emotional shifts inside Netflix TV shows Forever and Four Seasons, talking about how you can change your perspective. It can change your whole life. So when you change your perspective, it can change your whole life.
Absolutely. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about when forever stops feeling like you. It's going to be a theme of love and marriage.
Ooh, forever young. I want to be forever young.
Oh my goodness, I am really enjoying this series. I'm enjoying a different perspective. I enjoy these TV shows.
Man,
They have been
forever.
amazing.
Yes. So this episode, we're going to do some bouncing. So episode 1, just do a quick recap. We was really focused up on our friend groups and boundaries and how to communicate and show up first for yourself as well as have healthy relationships with friends. And we really heavy set it our discussions on Four Seasons. In episode 2, Quite, I'm gonna let you take that one.
Okay. In episode 2, we talked about parenting styles. We talked about the idea that sometimes parents they just don't understand, and how, sometimes the teenagers can feel in that situation versus how the parents feel, and navigating the differences in between. It was really good. Check it out.
Y'all gotta watch those. Check them out. But if you showed up in here because love is on your mind, because every R&B song talk about a little bit of love, and Forever and Four Seasons nudged on our heartstrings just a little bit too much.
It did.
Mainly Forever. But
Yes.
oh God, it was like a This Is Us ending every single time. Like it was crazy.
It was.
But if you showed up here because you wanted to talk about love and marriage, we are going to talk about that as far as this perspective shift of comfort doesn't always mean connection. And can we really mistake stability for fulfillment in relationships?
That is so heavy. You just came, we was having fun, and then you just gave like a gut punch. Woo, child. Say it one more time. Say it one more time. Ask your question one more time.
The perspective shift of this episode is really talking about comfort doesn't always mean connection. I got to sneeze. Oh, Lord. Okay, thank you. Thank you. And have I mistaken stability for fulfillment in my relationships?
And you know what? I see that in both of those TV shows. Like, of course, when you see when we're talking about forever and we're talking about that teenage love, you know what I'm saying? The teenage love, which is just like it's like pure, and it's jovial. It's like, it takes you back to those moments where you can first begin, like when you're first in love.
First love.
Your
Your first
first
love.
love, and you
Yeah.
can first be yourself. You could be
God.
silly, you could be whatever, and you felt like that person was there for you, regardless of whatever. Like y'all thick through thick and thin, whatever.
Yeah. They experienced so many firsts.
Yeah.
Even coming back together after being after
Apart.
having blow-ups, right? And that's
Yeah.
like now you've created like these little mini episodes of your love life, right? And you're like, I hated you. I didn't really hate you, but I didn't know what to do with my emotions. So I ran away and then I came back and I did. And it's
Back
like
and forth.
back
And
and
if you
forth.
feel like, first you feel like y'all was together forever, which it had only been like 3 weeks. And then
Right.
you feel like, because y'all had an argument that it was the end of the world, and that had only been like 3 days. And it's just like everything is just like,
Right.
everything feels big.
And then when you think about it, they at one point in the Forever show, Keisha and Justin, they had celebrated their 1 year anniversary, and I'm like, this girl has gone across the country to see this boy. Like it was like a whole lifetime in
It was
one
like
year.
in 1 year. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like they had broken up maybe a couple times. I felt like
Yeah. They broke up on their
already.
first date
They
before they
broke up
was
on their first
official.
date. Like
Right.
it was just, it's they
It's a
teenagers. So
teenage love,
it's
like
all
Chris
is
Brown.
forgiven,
Young love.
it
Yeah.
is. But I felt like the deeper point behind that was probably the overarching thing, the theme of it all was he got too comfortable. He got too
Who's
comfortable.
he?
Justin, he got too comfortable in the
Oh
relationship
yeah.
where he started to take that comfort and use it as his crutch,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it kind of prevented him from moving forward a little bit in his decision making because
Did.
he was being fulfilled in a way that like he had a sense of fulfillment.
That was his fulfillment. He was deciding to remove his goals to be just
Yeah.
being fulfilled by his girlfriend Keisha. And
Mhm.
I think it's interesting because reflecting back to our last episode, which talked about parenting styles, in this aspect, Keisha got the language to confront her boyfriend about him being lost in their relationship based off of what her dad said.
He was right on point too. He
And
was right on
he
point.
wasn't a lot of good. Well, he
He
just
was
wasn't, I'm sorry. He was absent. He was a good dad. He was absent though, and that was clear. That came across in the show. He wasn't there, but they said he was physically not there, but always checked in.
checked
Right?
in. Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
That
Yeah.
came through.
And
I
it
want
was
to be mindful.
it's important to share the how because and we talked about the different economic situations that
Hmm.
the two kids are in based off of their families. And obviously the Keisha is with her mom who is single and Justin has his two parents who live together, stuck it out.
Yeah.
Now, and he, as her dad told her what happened, we now kind of understood why a little bit. Like, I don't know if we understood that why they broke up, why the mom and him broke up.
Yeah.
Well, we kind of did. He said that he kind of he leaned into her.
Her
The dad leaned into the mom, which is how
and
she got there. I think that's what he said.
generational curses.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And he decided to open up to her about that. Like, yo, your boyfriend is mad clingy, right? Like, he's a little bit too, he's like, just got to be careful because you got a bright future. And I'm just telling you because I did it to your mama. Like, it was so I'm like,
Yeah. So
whoa,
Keisha's dad confronted Justin shortly after. And
well,
I'm
yeah,
sorry,
before,
I'm sorry, Keisha confronted Justin at the pool
yes,
after that, right?
yes,
Not the
yes.
dad. The dad just embarrassed him.
He just embarrassed him. He was being, but he did confront him. He was like, "You all over the place. Like, what do you want to do? You doing
Hmm.
this? You doing that?" Like, he did hit it to him straight on, and you could tell that it kind of rocked Justin a little bit.
Oh yeah, for
You know what
sure.
I mean? And I felt like he started leaning more into Keisha for it after that. And then,
Yeah.
but she wasn't picking up what he was throwing down until the dad had that talk. Again, dads, y'all matter. It matters.
It's so
You
important
know
to
what I'm
have
saying?
y'all.
Having those
Yeah.
conversations, it makes a really big difference. And that conversation, honestly, could have changed, it could have altered the course of her life
Yep.
because of that whole pool scene and everything like that. Like that could have altered the course of her life if her mind wasn't already thinking in that way.
Could you imagine if Justin decided to go to Howard if Keisha's dad didn't have that conversation prior because he wasn't there?
Right. Or if they would have ended up with an unplanned pregnancy.
Or an unplanned pregnancy
You
because
know what I'm
of the
saying?
lot.
Because it
Yeah,
just, you know what I'm saying? Because
absolutely.
she
Because
wasn't really paying attention to it like that. She didn't think,
yep,
I got this, but she had the experience of knowing of having her dad there and then
the
him saying what
guider.
he's saying. And
Mm-hmm.
not only that, but seeing her mom and how her mom struggled. So both of those things are now in her mind, in the forefront of her mind at this summer. She just got to get through this one last summer. Oh my goodness. She's got this
Right.
one last summer before she can get to Howard. And it could have all been
For not.
for nothing.
Yeah.
It could have not for nothing because that's a
Not for
part of
nothing.
it. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? Like our course can be altered, but it doesn't necessarily have to end. But how I like to say is, you know how like the video games, I'm old, some Mario Brothers
Are
have
we
different
talking about
levels.
Nintendo? Or are we talking about
Okay.
PlayStation?
I was talking about like Super Nintendo, but we don't have to talk about gaming systems. Just the video games in general have different level. Like you used to be
I don't
able
know what they
to.
have anymore because I ain't been on there.
I don't know, but you used to be able to put them on different levels, like
Right.
like an easy level, a medium level, a difficult level, and
You can still do
these are
that.
one of those situations where I felt like if that would have a teenage pregnancy would have been level 3.
Yeah.
You're at the hardest
You
level.
starting off at the hardest
You
level.
starting off at the
Yeah.
hardest level. Well, you could have just been on level 1.
Right.
Him going to Howard probably would have been a level 2. It would have been annoying, and they would have
Facts.
broke up.
That would and it would have broke. Yeah, it would have
They would
been
have
no.
broke up. But
Yeah.
I feel like it's life is about choices, and these choices come with consequences, and these consequences could either make our journey a little bit, more difficult or not.
Mm-hmm.
Like our purpose is our purpose. It's mapped out for us. If we, depending on what your beliefs are, it's already worked out. It's already worked out. But like your journey might be a little bit more difficult.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Based off of your decisions and your actions. Yeah. So I
Yeah,
just
I think
think,
they definitely made the decision for
yeah,
level one,
they,
right?
yeah,
They at the end of the episode, at
yeah,
the end of the series, if we're gonna talk about levels,
yeah,
of all the things, because they had the right support system around
yeah.
them, they made the decision of let's not be together, which is hard.
So hard.
It was so painful to watch. I was crying at every
I was,
I was
girl,
so
I
I
was so
had
much.
tears.
The way I was sitting on my couch, cuddled up in my fleece blanket in the corner of the couch. I
Girl,
wasn't
me
even sitting in like a
too.
regular spot. I was balled up in the corner of
Girl,
the
and
couch.
at one point I was like, I was just crying, like
Oh,
crying.
oh my goodness. I was like, they could at least go to level 1.5. Let them go to 1.5.
Can we try? I was like, can they try for half the year? And then like
Right?
Justin
What
being
happened to
so,
the long distance thing? They got to completely break up. But I was like,
can I
oh,
tell you what I love about the love in Forever
what?
was when she said the reason why Keisha said the reason why she fell for Justin, who's her boyfriend, is because he was so honest and she didn't have to think about where she stood.
Yeah.
And when I think about my relationship past, those are the best relationships where you don't have to think about it and you feel safe. She
Yes.
felt so safe, which speaks to the comfort that they had for each other. They both kind of felt very safe. But like that whole honesty piece was like, yeah,
Yeah.
like he was so cute, but just very honest the entire time that they were together, no matter what it was. Like he was just like, yeah, why are you giving me head? Is it because I bought you something? Oop.
Oh, I was like, what? Wait,
And
is that what you were doing? I missed
he
it. I'm
didn't
like,
even know
I
about
was
the sex video.
multitasking.
He didn't even
But
know about the sex video, like,
I
right?
didn't know. I had no clue.
And she's
But
thinking the worst. And
yeah,
he's just being Justin.
he's
Just
just being
Justin.
just that
Just
was
Justin.
Justin. He was just saying what was on his mind. Bless his heart. You know what? I think that like I'm sitting here laughing and smiling because that's exactly how it was for my me and my husband when we first met. He was very honest, very open. We were candid. You know what I mean? And it's
Yeah.
not all the time where you find yourself in a situation where you can be open and honest and just like let it all out.
Just let it out.
And they let in the honest way and hear the feedback, hear whatever you're gonna hear, and not feel like judged in this crazy heavy way. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, and that's exactly what he provided for her. That's what Justin did for her in the TV show. So that was good.
But to play it back to a little bit of their ultimate level one decision, which
Yeah.
was to not be together, Justin had to be honest with who he was and himself, which is so important. But him knowing I can't have contact with you because I love you
Yeah,
and
we
we're
would slip into our
connected.
old
We have
ways.
such a strong connection
Yes.
that continuing to communicate will never move forward. We'll never get to the next level of where we want to be in our lives,
Mm-hmm.
which was crazy to see. Well, for him, he would never. Keisha could. And he observed that Keisha could continue to thrive with
Mm-hmm.
him, but he could not continue to thrive.
Yeah. And it's important for him to thrive. It's it's just it is important, you know what I mean? Like for him to step into his own right,
Yeah.
be the man who he wants to be without having any excuses that hold resentment towards anybody
Yep.
or
Yep.
anything. Like his life and his choices are going to be his choices, not his mom's choices, not him leaning into whatever Keisha had going on. You know what I mean? They were his choices. If it and he thought it through. I think he's like, okay, I'm gonna try this. If it doesn't work, then I'm gonna go to college. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna do this first. All the things from a parental perspective is very, 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 very difficult to hear. But all things being safe, he is still young and he can still, if this doesn't work out, go to college. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And a 1 year gap year with the kind of mom that he has, he be all right.
He gonna be
he
he gonna
gonna
be
be
fine.
he
Like she
gonna be
actually
all
told him
right.
that. She told him that like your parents struggled and did all these things so that you can actually have the space to like have a
Who's
little bit
she?
more
Who is
risk.
she?
Keisha,
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
and that was part of the reason, the mom, we never talked about this before, but how excited the mom was for him to have a black girlfriend and to know that his
Yeah.
girlfriend was motivating him in some good ways and helped him with his essay to get in college. Even though she was kind of like, wait, she helped you with your essay? You don't
And
need
you
you to
don't want
read
me to
over
read
it.
it? She know she was
Like
mad about that. Yeah.
all of that. But it was, I just wanted to throw it out there because we hadn't touched on that part of it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, she told him those things, that he had the space to do that. And he did. He's fortunate enough to not have his back against the wall where he has to make a decision out of absolute necessity in a very defined way. He could have a little bit more risk about himself in a safe way, so kudos to
Hmm.
him for figuring that out. It was just kind of like, it was so mature to
It
me for
was
them to come to that level one decision. But I was, I think ultimately we'll see where season, because they are confirmed for season
season
2. So
2.
we'll see where it
Yeah.
goes. Life is life. So
Whew.
we
But
never
that was
know
a
what could
hard.
happen. They could put
Yeah.
themselves on level 3. You never know. And
Ooh, what level are wait? So after we finish forever, we have to touch on the love of Four Seasons, but
because
we
this is
definitely
making
yes.
me think about it so much.
What level is season 2 going to tap into?
It's gonna, I think, because they're gonna be in like out of high school, in college,
Yeah,
they're gonna have to take it up a notch with, like, them putting themselves on a more difficult level. Things that, in high school you could kind of bounce back from some things, even though she did go through a lot. They might
yeah,
have to be going through situations that are a little bit more impactful to their lives than the things that they went through in high school,
yeah.
as young adults. So, and it's just
Before
interesting to
it's
see,
very
like,
interesting.
hmm?
No, go ahead to see what.
It's interesting to just see them kind of make their mistakes, see them come to like self-realization almost,
Mm-hmm.
and understanding that they were not necessarily going to come to a full fulfillment because they were leaning too hard on each other, that they were kind of like, just, this is cool, this is stable, I'm happy, we're and shaking things up by not being together. And then you kind of go over to 4 seasons where you have full grown adults who, again, because it's called 4 seasons. I felt like, you see them go through the different seasons of their life,
Seasons of
the seasons of love, right? And you
love.
can kind of, you see that. I wonder if that's going to come
Yeah.
back for season 2. But you see them
That.
go through like the divorce, even the divorce of it in and of itself, and why they got divorced and how comfortable they were. It's like, be comfortable. You want to be comfortable, but don't get too comfortable, right?
Yeah.
Can't get too comfortable. And that's even in a marriage. Like, there's work. It's work. There's things that's going to have to be done, and people change, and some people don't. It's certain
Right.
aspects of it. And you have to know that going in, and like keep that like somewhere close to the front. Don't gotta be at the tippy top, but somewhere close to the
But
front,
somewhere,
kind of
right.
remembering that people going to change in certain areas and people are not going to change in certain areas. But that it not to say that doesn't matter, but you're going to have to find fulfillment in some other ways within reason of your relationship that makes sense, all things being fair. And
Four
then open,
seasons.
what'd you say?
I was thinking that Four Seasons had us looking at marriage like, are y'all roommates or lovers? Like,
Right,
what's
right.
going on? Because in both all the three main relationships that it depicted,
Yes.
it had us looking at it like, what am I wrong for wanting more? Or how can I navigate evolving in love?
And getting the
Like,
more that I
and
want.
getting the more, oh, that's the question. Let's say
Yeah.
that question one more time.
How can we involve in love and getting the more that we want?
Yes. how can we evolve as ourselves? Because this is a self-care podcast. How can
Yeah.
we evolve as ourselves and getting the more we want in love?
Yeah. Um, honesty for sure. I mean, I know we kind of touched on it before, but that "it hurts me when" sentence
I
is
mean, we talk that
real.
is for relationships.
It's real because it's like maybe it's not something hurting you, but it makes me happy when,
Hmm.
right? That can also be applied
Right.
because sometimes you can get stale and you get comfortable and it's like the day to day, blah 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 blah. It gets real, monotonous. And so shaking things up a bit and we're actually saying what it is, like the little things, because it seems like, and when you talk about divorce and the two that got divorced, it wasn't because someone did something big and egregious and crazy, right?
Yeah.
Even though I believe someone did cheat at
Only
some
one
point.
person. Wait. Like we have to talk
Okay.
in who we're talking about, so
We're
it's
talking about the
clear.
main couple that got divorced.
Okay. So the
I
main couple that got divorced
Yeah.
was Anne and Nick.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was Ann and Nick. And so when he was saying the reasons that he wanted to divorce, it was just like she doesn't want to do anything anymore. Like, she just is very, very stuck in her ways, and I want to explore, I want to do things. Kind of felt like
Right.
midlife crisis that he was going through, like
Yeah.
he just wanted more excitement in his life, and she's like, what? No. And I don't know at what point there was a change or if it had always been that way. But it's like, was she always, did he change to wanting to do more things, or did she change from doing things and then not wanting to do things? That part I
Yeah.
wasn't sure of. Like, was it ever balanced, like ever? And if, because sometimes that can happen, and like we both just chilling, we don't really want to do much, but then you get whatever happens, and you're like, nah, I want to explore life,
I
or
think
I
it's
want to
those
take it down a notch.
nonverbals.
Hmm.
Like it's those nonverbals
Yeah.
of, that, for example, Jack, the other couple who, the Tina Fey couple from Saturday Night Live, it was Jack and Kate. Their couple, they seemingly had a good bond, rapport, communication style, but over time, they had expectations and they were giving each other nonverbals. A lot of them, like to the point where Kate, Tina Fey's character, was like, "Why are you on your phone so much? Are you cheating on me?" Like those are the nonverbals of things that were coming through on screen that we didn't get a chance to really see between Nick and Anne's relationship, that I'm sure if
Yeah.
we could replay time or have an opportunity to see their relationship, there
Yeah.
might have been some similarities of those things happening that we saw play out on the couple that ended up struggling.
Yeah, and I think that like even we weren't able to see it play out in real time. We didn't have enough time to see them together like we saw the other couples. But in his delivery of why they got divorced, it was a lot of little things. And I think that's my
Mm-hmm.
point. Is just like
It
we
makes
don't
me
know if
happy.
he ever expressed them outright or with the nonverbals. But what I got out of it, just from, I think it probably was because when they were on a boat and like everybody was jumping in and she was like, nah, or whatever they were doing that he wanted her
Oh
to do before they got
yeah,
divorced. He kept saying like, come on, just do it and let's do it, la la la. And she's like, no, 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 like, or
that's
just,
real.
she just wasn't picking
Yeah, she
up
wasn't
what he
doing
was
it.
throwing down. And I don't know what she was going through. And it's difficult because people go through those things where you may want something out of the other person, but maybe the other person is going through something where they are stuck, you know?
Right. And this
And
piece
how do you
that you
help them get
said
unstuck?
is by encouraging them by sharing how you feel. And I think in marriage,
Yeah,
it can become, you don't want to be nitpicky and nagging, right? That's what
what it
it
turns
feels
into.
like if you
Yeah,
start over accentuating, like, why aren't you doing this, why aren't you doing that? But that's what it
yeah,
turned into with the divorce phase, right?
yeah.
But prior to that, by maybe, it's something funny because it all kind of circles back, but this aspect of what you said, Quandris, it makes me
Mhm.
happy when, so it's a positive way, but it's also like a very redirection. We were talking about early childhood.
Oh yeah.
All of our really, I was watching this podcast. So two things. I was watching this podcast that talked about how most married couples or people in relationships are always going back to their inner child, right? They're still that little boy or that little girl.
Yes.
They
It was
always were.
I saw something
I'm gonna
similar.
find it and put it in the show notes. Yeah.
Okay.
But they talked about, it was like a love and relationship podcast. And it was
Hmm.
talking about that you are always that same little girl and that same little boy, no matter how big and strong you get over time or how much you
Right.
go through, you just want to be talked to like that little boy, little girl. And when you're dealing with kids, especially like toddlers, it's all about redirection, right? And how do you positively say to help somebody, like, I want you to do this a different way and not and say, I don't like this or don't do that or don't do that. But you want them to be excited and encouraged it. You have to use those positive phrases of, it makes me happy when you go jump into jump into the lake and be a little bit
Yeah.
adventurous. I like it because
Yeah.
this, and that.
Kill them with kindness. I think that is true. I think that positive spin is helpful, and it definitely you catch more bees with honey. I don't know, like
I guess.
it's the
I
truth.
don't know.
It is the truth. I think so. Like if you're positive, I would rather hear like it makes me so happy when you blah blah blah, and then the person is actually smiling when they saying it, right? And it comes off like it's genuine that they really are happy. And it's like for the most part with our spouses or people in relationships, they do want to make their spouse, if it's a healthy
Happy.
relationship enough, that you do want to make your significant other happy, right? So
Well, Jack was trying to have a romantic weekend on the second couple that went through
yeah.
an issue, right? Remember, he was trying to have a romantic weekend that weekend that they were at the school, which is
Yes.
totally not a time to have a romantic weekend because you're at your child's college that you went to. But whatever, that's to here nor there. But his way of doing that was to surprise her with in order of housekeeping, or what was it, like a hotel
The
service,
hotel service, yeah.
yeah, for food. And she's like, I'm trying to be outside and do hood rat stuff with my hood rat friends. Like, I'm trying to be outside. And he didn't say, it makes me happy when we're one on one. Like, he never said that, but he just was putting out feelers. I got us this thing. What did he say? I'm
Yeah.
having a stomach ache. That
Oh,
means come to bed with
yeah,
me. And
yeah,
he
yeah,
was
yeah.
mad
We
because
were trying to get out of the dinner or wherever they were. He's like, I got a little stomach ache. Don't you want to come with me? She's like, no.
no, not with a
What
stomach
are you
ache.
talking about? Go on. Yeah, you go. I'll see you later. I'll check in. But like that's the communication part, I feel like. And then if that happens enough, you can't get aggravated, annoyed, and bored of it, right? And it can lead into some other problems.
Yeah,
That's the communication part where like y'all gotta, I mean, that's what it's just it literally most of this boils down to communication, which is difficult because like you said, nobody wants to come off like a nag, right?
right,
And like you don't want everything to be all so super deep. And I don't know at what point, unlike forever, where he could just be super honest and things like that, and just say what it is that he is thinking, and you know that that's exactly what it is. I don't know where
right.
that shifts, you know, as we spin around the sun, to some sort of like coddling of feelings where we were not as honest as we were, you know what I'm saying? And so we start to shield, or we try to shield conflict. Like it's almost like we don't want to deal with conflict as much.
I agree.
And we kind of perceive, or maybe because we've been through conflict, if we said it similarly in the past, so we try to avoid it. And it's like and so you avoid saying it, but there's a communication gap now. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's like I think again, like sometimes some situations you have to talk through with a counselor as to like why you feel that way. Maybe it's not them who you go to first, especially if you don't have your words and you can't pinpoint exactly what it is that's
Right.
driving you crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like you might have to talk it out, that talk therapy,
That's
to
real.
someone else so that you can like unscatter your brain on all of the things that you're thinking. That part is real, and especially if you don't feel safe. Like if you don't feel safe in it, then because sometimes that is why people don't talk, because they don't feel safe. You definitely should be talking to someone else about it who can help navigate you through or out of, you know what I mean, that situation. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think overall, when it comes to this, like the unraveling, what did you say? Like the unraveling of the perfect marriages or whatever, when it came to all those different relationships, we saw beauty in them in Four Seasons. We saw
Yeah,
beauty in the relationships, um but you also saw the human side of it.
you
You saw
did.
the human side of it, that there is conflict, and you saw basically that the first couple just decided that they didn't want to be in conflict anymore, at least with that person. Because the crazy thing is, you get in a relationship with someone else, you're going to go through conflict, right?
Yep.
So, and the thing that separated them between the other couples was that the other couples stuck it out. That was literally the difference, because there wasn't anything, again, like egregious. There was no like abuse or, some type of something like that happening where they couldn't work through it. And marriage has its seasons. It has its ups, it has its downs. And the thing that makes it stay together is staying together.
Dun dun dun.
I guess,
Wait,
I don't know. I'm new here.
wait. You just made
I'm new on the block. I don't know.
you just made me think about the generational shifts of staying together when thinking about Nick's character's daughter. Nick and Anne's daughter character in her play that
Oh,
depicted just all the
that was
singleness and loneliness of the future generation of marriage. Like marriage was not a vibe for this next generation. And why was she a Loch Ness monster witch? Why did she make her mom look like
the
a witch?
stepmom. Wait, it was the
No, her
mom.
real mom.
That was the mom.
You
That
broke my
play,
mom. You broke
I
my
don't
mom.
think I laughed that hard in a long, long time when I saw that play. And when she started tearing that shelf up, that the stepmom boy,
First
she was
of
like, "Oh,
all,
this shelf is perfect." And I'm like, "Yo, they couldn't get along, okay?" She's being really mature about this. And then you saw her break the shelf up in the play.
first of all, that she
Oh my
started
gosh.
that play with no holding back. Like the first line of the play was like, "We're here because my dad left my mom and went for a floozy." Like whose whose personality equals squats.
Oh my gosh. And just the fact that, like, he literally found someone who looked just like her 20 years ago. Like,
And
she
that's what the daughter was like. Who said that? Was it the daughter that said that?
it was either the daughter or one of the friends that was just like, is it me, or did he get like his
It was
wife
the daughter. It was
only
like,
20 years
that's
younger?
mom, just the younger version,
Just a
right?
younger version, right? Right. And it was, and it was weird. And him seeing himself like, okay, like, again, you're gonna go through conflict. And he was starting, you could see him being happy. You could see that he was happy, or whatever the case, with the girlfriend. But okay, it's because it's something exciting and new and something different. You know,
Girl, that was lust.
that was
Okay.
lust. That wasn't, you can't say it was true happiness, because as soon as he went around her friends, her very young friends, he was like, oh no. Like, you could
What
see,
did I do? Let me go call
what
my
did I get
friend.
myself into? Was his face. It was his demeanor, right?
Which, I mean, granted, and that brings me to kind of like, it had an unfortunate spoiler. Like, rest in peace,
Mhm.
Nick.
Yeah. Oh man, I didn't see it coming.
I didn't.
And I don't like it when I don't see it
I
coming.
know. I was like, wait, he died? Like, what? So, y'all, the main relationship character, the one who divorced his wife in the beginning of the whole series, he ended up passing away. And it was in the height of his new argument that he had with his new girlfriend, who's like 20, 30 years younger than him, or 20 years younger than him. And his first experience with her friends and him reflecting. You can definitely see reflection happening in
Mhm.
his nonverbals by staying in his room, not interacting with her friends because he felt a little awkward. And
Mhm.
whereas the girlfriend, I think her name was Jenny, was super girl of the year, showing up through all the uncomfortability with a smile on her face. He had one moment where he had to show up for her and he just hibernated in his room. And she got upset and they were in an argument and he ended up leaving and unfortunately was in an accident. It makes you think like what was going through his mind. And I wish I would have known about where
What
he
do you
stood
think was going through his mind? You mean during the accident, or like while he was
before, when he
before?
was in the room, not
Mhm.
wanting to really be present, really focused on his friends. And even in that point, it seemed like he almost wanted to be where his friends were.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like that's what he was thinking. Like, he probably would rather be there, but I think he felt like he was happy because when he went to that store, he went to the store to try to get things for her and her friends, like with
Right.
keeping them in mind, like things that they would
Correct.
actually like. Because the first time, I think he got like
Everything for
somebody
him.
a bottle of wine and they were like sober. Like they were like trying to get
Right.
off of alcohol and he got them wine and that was like offensive. Or they were vegan and he bought meat. Like it was just he was just not paying attention. And he went to the store to get them things with
Yeah.
them in mind. So I think that he was gonna try,
Yeah. And he
but
loved, I
like
think, and I don't think that he didn't love her. Like, I think she gave him
yeah.
fulfillment,
Yeah,
even
I
though,
think she
yeah.
gave him some fulfillment in that space of his life.
Mm-hmm.
And but it's just also to me looking in, of course, as like the observer from my perspective, you still had to go through conflict. It's still, you know what I mean? Like those things are going to happen. And I thought for me that was an overarching thing. Like work this, you got to. It's going to be uncomfortable. There's going to
Right.
be some struggle. It's going to be some conflict. But you can't force, and that's the tricky part. You can't force someone into change. You can't force someone to do something that they don't want to do. And how long should conflict last? Like how long should it be that you're just so unhappy? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like how long does that last? And that's the part that where people start to be like, oh my goodness, years and years and years and years.
I know.
You know what I'm saying? Like where do you draw the line? But I remember, and I'll share. I was listening to the radio, and I will never forget this. It was somebody I was listening to. We were still in Philly. It was that long
Mm-hmm.
ago, and it was like a lady on the radio who was married for 60 years. It was a really long time. And then they were asking how did it work so long, like if she could give a tip or like advice or whatever, like what would she give? And
Yeah.
she was like, she remembers a 7-year period where she literally hated his
Oh, I
guts.
remember you telling me this.
You
She
remember
hated
that?
him.
Like
She
she
hated him.
hated him. She
I
hated the sight of
hate
him.
Jaden
She could
Smith.
smell him coming. She could smell him coming. Like she just your whole mood shift, right? Like she
Mm-hmm.
hated him. But then somewhere in that 7th year, like it changed and she liked him again and she was in love again, like deep love. So it's like sometimes we just don't stick it out long enough and we feel like, especially today, Insta society, right? If it lasts more than a week, this whole thing must be trash. It must be trash, right? So it's like you couldn't know, we could never, we could 7 years, you could
Right.
never. But how do you see those types of numbers? How do you see those types of numbers in years with someone without going through some stuff,
Right.
going through some
Facts.
stuff. So I don't know. I'm not telling people to stay for 7 years at all, like in misery. But it's the point of like we got some tools these days to help us
We
with our
do.
words,
Our words, our actions,
our actions,
all of
our
the things.
our self-care and love. You know what I'm saying? Like if you want to go see a
Ooh.
show, you don't have to be with that person. Go see the show. Just go see the show.
Right. Right. Right.
To bridge it all together.
Yeah. What are these quick tips?
To bridge it all together. Um, we want to be comfortable, but not too comfortable as to not grow our own selves. We should always be trying to grow, I
That
think.
part. That's a
You know
good
what I'm
part.
saying?
Mm-hmm.
And it may cause a sacrifice because in that case for forever in the young teenage love, they had to put a pause on what they were doing um
Right.
in order to grow. And then I feel like in Forever, it was kind of the opposite, where they were very, very stable. And they also kind of had to shake things up in order to grow.
Mm-hmm.
But it was for me more about sitting in some of the conflict, like really getting into like what the conflict was, right? I feel like
Yep.
they already knew. They just didn't ain't had much going on. They were teenagers in Forever, and they could identify it pretty, easily.
Yep.
When you get to like the Four Seasons type of love, and you got like years and years and years to unpack because you probably missed saying some things, you slid some things under that rug, right? Then you have to get in there. You got to get up under that rug and get up
Right.
into that conflict just to like break yourself out of that comfortability so that you can grow as a unit.
That's actually the mindset shift, right? We
Yeah.
talked about connection, not always equaling, or comfort not always equaling connection, and you're so nervous about conflict because you're comfortable in
Yeah.
what it is. But maybe conflict isn't like being disloyal or betrayal. It's really a bridge
To a
to
connection,
to a connect to a deeper connection.
a deeper connection. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think if we see it like that a little bit more, then it probably will make us less like fearful of the conflict, like addressing the conflict head on.
Correct. Yep. Because I think it's in the immediate reaction to say, "Oh my gosh, I feel conflicted, so I must be disloyal, or I'm
Mm,
betraying this person because I'm supposed to be comfortable and
yeah.
happy, and I don't want to
Supposed to be
cause
comfortable, supposed to
conflict."
be happy, shouldn't be
Right.
bringing drama. Like we see conflict as like drama, and who wants to be in drama?
Correct. But let's
You know?
reframe our thoughts on conflict.
Yeah,
Conflict isn't, it's an opportunity to get to a deeper connection.
it's opportunity for growth.
Mm-hmm.
It's opportunity for growth.
That's our affirmation.
Yeah.
Conflict is the opportunity for growth.
It really is. It's like thinking about it like some more.
I love it here. Well, we hope that you all had got something out of these episode recaps and how it really fits and falls into this whole thing we call adulting, self-care, and just continuing to navigate with relationships. And so we are so excited to wrap up our episode. We gave you three of them on this mini series. We got three of them. We hope you enjoyed three of them because we done. We done, son.
We done.
I'm
We
from
done.
Jersey. We
Oh my,
done, son.
oh my goodness. Certain places you just know where they from because they're gonna mention it at some point, right? Wait, I know better because I feel like I done said I'm from Philly a few times. Like I
Whatever.
mentioned it.
Right.
So I get it. I get it. I love it.
Before we break, we definitely have to tap on something we said on our last episode before the miniseries. If you read the book, remember the book? I have a couple lines that I want to say that really spoke to me.
Okay.
So let me leave you with the lines that I pulled from reading that book.
Wait, are you talking about Atunde's book?
Yes, what was it called? What was the book?
It's called Speak. I'm sitting here smiling like, what is she talking about? Hold on a second. It's called Speak. You're right. And I had some notes on that too. Woo! That was a good. That was a good.
Yes. So Atunde's book, and it's actually, let me be right. She had a book that we talked about on our last episode, and it really was a great, I would say, affirmation book that talked about the power of showing up for yourself, going after your dreams. And she's a Peloton instructor, phenom, just amazing all around. And so there were some quotes that I took from the book that I wanted to provide you all as encouragement. I've been so busy doing, I hadn't stopped to acknowledge how far I've come.
I like that. I've been so busy doing it. I haven't taken the time to see how far I've
To
come.
acknowledge how far I've come. And yeah. And she said that because I think at one point she had all of these things that she was just naturally good at, that she was successful at, and she was just heading to the next big thing. And we do that all the time. We're we accomplish something and then we go to the next thing. And she gets the big job. And she hadn't sat with herself, like she was like a makeup artist
Yeah.
phenomenon. Like everything she did in life, she was so great. And she hadn't acknowledged like she had to go through all of these different graduated events to be who she was today.
There was a few of them that I like, but I'll just say this one so that we can wrap it up.
Thank you.
Um, she said life comes in seasons, which obviously that speaks to
That goes.
we're talking about.
See?
But life comes in seasons. Everything shifts and changes. I try to get the most out of the season that I'm in because I know I'll never get it back, which I thought was powerful. And it
That's
kind of
very
speaks to
powerful.
being in the moment. It
Mm-hmm.
speaks to being in the moment with knowing that things are going to shift at the same time. Like you know that things are going to shift, and it's okay for things to shift because sometimes the thing that can rock us the most are those shifts. You
Right.
know, the new job, the new baby, the new home, like a new city. Those things can rock us. That you know, you go on, you think you're going to college in Chicago, but you decided you wanted to make beats. Life shifts, right?
Forever, Justin.
You know what I'm saying? Like life shifts, but that's okay. You know what I'm
It
saying?
is.
Make the most out of that moment. If wherever you are, wherever you're in, make the most out of that moment. Do your best,
Absolutely.
try your hardest, to take advantage of that moment because regardless, you're not going to get that moment back. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
he was in the groove of making those beats, and people were interested. It was a vibe, like all of those things. In that moment, well, not not in the same way. It's not to say that you're going to ruin or miss out on all opportunities. If it's meant to be, it will
Justin
be.
finished, got his diploma, and went to drop off those beats. Okay? He
Yes.
seized his moment, in
He
my
seized
opinion.
this moment. He said,
Yeah.
"Yo, come through. I want you to hear this." And he, in his cap and gown, went on over there to seize
Mhm.
his moment. You know what I mean? Like accepting the shift that was happening
Yeah.
in his
That's
life. So
good.
that's my quote.
Well, blessings, you all. Catch us back here soon for what we're going to be doing next.
Love y'all.
Bye.
Bye.